Goeienaand, dis 6:00 en tyd vir Fokus hier op SABC 2. Ek is Lenet Francis, welkom. Vanaand fokus ons op plaasaanvalle en meer spesifiek op onlangse syfers wat aandui dat dit toegeneem het in die eerste 6 maande van vanjaar. Maar voor ons ateljeegaste hulle menings deel, maak ons eers 'n draai in KwaZulu-Natal, waar 2 onlangse plaasaanvalle weer eens die kolle glad val het op die bedreiging waaronder die land se boere feitelik daagliks moet leef. Tydens die jongste aanvalle is 'n plaasvoorman naby Greytown vermoor en 'n egpaar in die Mooirivieromgewing aangeval en van onder meer 'n vuurwapen beroof. Verskeie vermeende aanvallers is intussen in verband met die 2 voorvalle gearresteer. Regisseur Danny Juffers het Greytown besoek en vasgestel dat boere en die gemeenskap terugveg. Hier is sy verslag.
2 wrede plaasaanvalle vroeër die maand het landelike gemeenskappe en boere hier in die hartland van KwaZulu-Natal vir die soveelste keer die afgelope paar jaar geskok. En slagoffers soos Julian Channing Pierce het ontstellende verhale om te vertel. Julian en sy familie is reeds 2 keer op 'n plaas buite Greytown aangeval. Nou leef hulle in vrees dat dit weer kan gebeur en hulle woonhuis lyk soos 'n militêre fort met lemmetjiesdraad wat moontlike aanvallers moet uithou.
The first attack was 4 years ago with my brother. He was attacked in our office approximately 5 o'clock in the evening, where there was a full-on armed robbery. He sustained bad injuries and was hospitalized in ICU for approximately 5 days. During the second attack 2 years ago, and it was on the 5th of August, in fact, we, as a family, were sitting in the house at approximately 8 o'clock at night, and we had full-on armed home invasion at approximately 8:08.
Nog 'n bekende boer in die Greytown omgewing, Dave Carroll, moes jare gelede toesien hoe 'n vriend en medeboer in sy arms bloei, nadat hy in 'n fynbeplande hinderlaag gelyktydig deur 2 aanvallers geskiet is. Hy is later oorlede. Sedertdien is Dave die dryfveer agter 'n doeltreffende en broodnodige 911 inbelsentrum op die dorp. Die sentrum ontvang daagliks dosyne oproepe wat wissel van veld- en bosbrandinligting tot plaasaanvalle en word in samewerking met onder meer die plaaslike polisie en ander rolspelers bedryf.
The idea being that people no longer have to remember a cell phone number or a landline number of the police, road traffic, neighbours, etc. They just phone us here at the 911 centre and we will do the necessary for them.
Plaaslike boere is ook betrokke by gereelde padpatrollies. Inligting oor moontlike verdagtes word na die 911 sentrum deurgegee, vanwaar wetstoepassers betrek word indien nodig. Dele in die Greytown gebied word al geruime tyd beskou as 'n brandpunt van plaasaanvalle. Nou 'n samewerking met private sekuriteitspatrollies is ook aan die orde van die dag.
Our 911 centre keeps the community together and keeps information moving quickly to the right people. We're not having to drive vehicles going out to a scene and having to fight cell phone signals that are not working. We can report straight into a 911 centre who then gets the information to the correct authorities.
Not only is it myself that's beefed up the security as far as this razor wire around the perimeter of my residence, the community at large has beefed up. We do security patrols ourselves, where we team up 2 of us from the farming community. We go out during the course of the evening and do patrols. We've also hired private security companies to do these patrols as well.
What we use as our motto is that we will try and do for you what you can't do for yourself. So if it should be a farm attack or a lady who has had a puncture and can't get the tyre off the car, we will assist by getting other people to come who are closer by than we are. We have all the details of the farmers, who the farmer is, what road he is on, his cell phone number, landline number, his wife's numbers.
And when you got your family, your daughters at the time, my wife and at the time his 12-year-old daughter and 9-year-old daughter were all in the house. And it's something that you don't wish on anybody. We had 12 gunshots fired in our kitchen. So we had a full-on gunfight, but no, not very pleasant at all. I don't wish it on my worst enemy.
Bekommerde boere het aan Fokus gesê dat hulle nie net vir hulle eie lewens en die van hulle families vrees nie, maar dat getroue en hardwerkende plaaswerkers ook voortdurend in die spervuur is en soms geteken word vir waardevolle inligting wanneer plaasaanvalle beplan word.
Volgens syfers wat onlangs deur Tel USA en AfriForum bekend gemaak is, was daar in die eerste 6 maande van vanjaar 'n toename in plaasaanvalle en moorde. Dis in vergelyking met dieselfde tydperk verlede jaar. Boonop by die rolspelers in die landbousektor ook onlangs met die waarnemende nasionale polisiekommissaris, luitenant-generaal Gomotse Pashlane vergader om die saak te bespreek. Vanaand is ons gaste die voorsitter van Agri SA se beleidskomitee oor landelike veiligheid Kobus Bruitenberg, die adjunk uitvoerende hoof van kommunikasie by AfriForum Ernst Roots en die waarnemende nasionale polisiekommissaris generaal Gomotse Pashlane. Baie dankie vir julle tyd vanaand, menere. Ernst, kom ons begin sommer by jou. Aanvanklik die vergelyking met verlede jaar se aanvalle, met hoeveel het dit toegeneem?
Wel, die name wat ons op 'n lys het wat ons kon verifieer in die eerste 6 maande van hierdie jaar is 39. So dit sou beteken dat dit, as 'n mens dan nou dit met 2 maal om 'n vooruitskatting te maak vir hierdie jaar, beteken dit dat dit meer is as verlede jaar se 64. So dit lyk vir ons dan volgens die syfers tot ons beskikking, wat nie dieselfde is, presies dieselfde is as die polisie se nie, want die polisie het hulle syfers eers onlangs eintlik aan ons ook bekend gestel. Lyk dit asof daar dan vanaf 2011, met ander woorde die afgelope 5 jaar, stelselmatige toename in plaasmoorde is, nie noodwendig in plaasaanvalle nie. Maar dit is wel iets om oor bekommerd te wees. Ons het nou syfers by die polisie gekry, wat bietjie van ander prentjies skets, veral die polisie se syfers ten opsigte van plaasaanvalle, verskil baie van AfriForum se. Ten opsigte van plaasmoorde is dit naby aan mekaar, maar daar's klein verskille en ons is besig om hierdie verslae te vergelyk en te kyk wat is die redes.
Waarom is daar so 'n groot verskil? Is dit omdat die wyse waarop die polisie aanvalle verifieer as geweldsmisdade, dat daardie onsekerheid, onduidelikheid kom?
Kyk, ek dink ons syfers ten opsigte van plaasaanvalle, ook die eerste 6 maande van die jaar 185, wat beteken is meer as 1 per dag, maar dis eintlik baie onvolledig, want die manier hoe ons hierdie syfers insamel is deur mediaberiggewing en lede van die publiek wat ons in kennis stel. Nou 'n plaasaanval waar niemand vermoor is nie, is nie meer nuuswaardig nie, so ons stel dit nie regtig op in die media nie. Die polisie samel dit in met dossiere en mense wat klagtes insamel, so ek dink die polisie se syfers ten opsigte van plaasaanvalle is baie hoër. Hulle het byvoorbeeld verlede jaar gesê daar was 446 as ek reg onthou. Maar ek dink ons syfers ten opsigte van plaasmoorde, mense kan sien die syfers is baie naby aan mekaar. Ons het verlede jaar wel gesien dat vir 2015 se syfers is ons lys van name vir plaasmoorde meer as die polisie se, maar daar's verskillende redes waarom dit kan gebeur. Een rede kan wees ons syfers kyk na kalenderjare, die polisie kyk na finansiële boekjare. So daar's 'n paar sulke tipe goed. Dit kan ook die definisie wees wat gebruik word om 'n plaasmoord te bepaal, wat 'n rede kan wees, maar ons is besig om dit vas te stel.
So is it time, General, to say that farm attacks and farm murders is a priority crime?
We have pronounced ourselves, even during our engagements with the role players, including AfriForum and Agri SA and the others, that as a South African Police Service, we have prioritized farm attacks and farm killings. To us, it's not so much about statistics. We have to be very much concerned because the killing of any farmer or any farm worker, it's a killing too much, and therefore we will have to commit our resources to make sure that we deal with such. I am noting what Ernest is saying. It will be a problem for me because I don't work on a calendar year. I will work on a financial year. When we communicated our picture, we have shown what the attacks were in the 2015-2016 financial year, which commenced the 1st of April to the 31st of March 2016. It is therefore important that as we work together on this, that our approach is the same. Because for me, January to February, it's part of the previous financial year. And I want to say, what is it that we are experiencing in this new financial year, which is from the 1st of April going forward. But important is that this is an area that we have prioritized. This is an area where we are going to be deploying more resources. And I think our strategy going forward is to work together. And I'm very grateful for the cooperation and willingness to work together with the structures.
So na die breek praat ons 'n bietjie oor hoe effektief hierdie strategie tot dusver was en wat die nuwe strategie gaan behels. Ons is nou terug, moenie weggaan nie. Ons praat vanaand oor plaasaanvalle en moorde op plase en ons gaste is Agri SA se Kobus Bruitenberg, AfriForum se Ernst Roots en die waarnemende nasionale polisiekommissaris Gomotso Pashlane. So voor die breek het ons gesels, eintlik die generaal het daarna verwys dat julle nou 'n gesamentlike pogingstrategie vorentoe moet beplan. Hoe effektief was die bestaande strategie veral in die bekamping van aanvalle en dan ook die beskerming van landelike gemeenskappe? Kobus?
Lenet, aanvanklik is die landelike beveiligingsstrategie in 2011 saamgestel en in die lig gesien. En hierdie dokument is geïmplementeer by verskeie polisiestasies. Maar as gevolg van tekort aan hulpbronne in terme van voertuie en logistiek, het hierdie strategie nie tot sy volle reg gekom in al die stasies nie. Plekke waar hy wel uitgevoer en toegepas is en reg geïmplementeer is daar vandag goeie samewerking tussen die gemeenskap, die landelike gemeenskap en dan nou die polisie. So hierdie strategie is in 2015 hersien, waarin dan nou tekortkominge reggestel is en aangevul is om dan nou 'n beter strategie daar te stel. Maar steeds het ons 'n probleem ten opsigte van die implementering daarvan en dan ook die toepassing en voertuie wat die beperkende faktor is wat die polisie verhinder om dan nou tot hulle volle reg te kom.
Maar wat het intussen gebeur, veral met die uitfasering van die kommandos? Jy dink ook dat dit baie moeiliker is om sektorpolisieering toe te pas op sulke ver afgeleë gebiede. Wat was die strategie tot dusver Ernst en wat het gewerk en wat het nie gewerk nie?
Kyk, ons siening is dat die strategie tot dusver was onvoldoende. Ons het nog eintlik as AfriForum sedert 2012 baie aktiewe veldtog gedryf dat plaasmoorde 'n prioriteitsmisdaad moet wees. Nou almal vra wat beteken dit? Wat ons daarmee bedoel as ons sê prioriteitsmisdaad is net eenvoudig, daar moet 'n gefokusde teenstrategie wees. Daar's baie redes hoekom plaasmoorde uniek is. Die impak daarvan is uniek. Ons hoor byvoorbeeld die regering sê die boere, die landbousektor moet 1 miljoen werksgeleenthede skep teen die jaar 2030. Maar terselfdertyd, sosioloë skat dat daar teen die jaar 2030 net 8000 kommersiële boere gaan oorwees in die land af vanaf 60.000 in 1996. So ons sê dat moet 'n gefokusde teenstrategie wees wat daar nie regtig tot op hede was nie, is ons ervaring en ons is baie verheug en positief oor ons gesprekke met die generaal en die SABC die afgelope paar maande oor die inisiatiewe wat geneem gaan word en hulle het vir ons 'n deeglike voorlegging gegee oor wat die polisie alles onderneem om te doen, wat maar wesenlik belê op die landelike veiligheidsplan, op miskien 'n hersiening daarvan, op sigbaarheid van die polisie en 'n klomp sulke stappe wat geneem gaan word. En ons kan ook sien uit die polisie se verslae en voorleggings aan ons dat hulle baie moeite gedoen het sedert die begin van die jaar om die probleem te ondersoek, om navorsing te doen, om dossiere te gaan ontleed, gemiddeldes is uitgewerk, hotspots soos wat hulle dit noem is vasgestel. So daar's 'n klomp goed aan die polisie se kant wat ons ervaar wat in plek gesit is. En ek dink die groot ding nou is ons praat van 'n dubbele strategie. Die polisie moet doen wat die polisie kan doen, maar die gemeenskap moet ook besef ons kan nie net agteroor sit en wag vir die polisie nie. Ons moet saamwerk om die probleem op te los.
So the focused approach and the strategy is to get all these stakeholders involved, but it seems also like there's more resources being allocated to actually protect and inform and empower these farming communities, General.
Working together with the communities, particularly the farming community, is key to success. There is no way that you can be out there in the farming community on your own. It is for that reason that we are saying you can't implement sector policing in the farm area and the rural community. We will implement there a rural safety strategy. Amongst others, we want to rely heavily on the communities in their participation in the structures, like the community policing forums, but also importantly, we will recruit more reservists. You earlier mentioned the commandos and so on. Some of those people are still willing to become reservists. I have pronounced that by the end of August, we will have advertised the recruitment process for for the reservists, which we think is going to take us a long way into being successful. The issue of cars are the vehicles that we are deploying there, vehicles that are able to effectively do policing in that area. So part of our strategy is to review that and review our deployment approach and, as we said, engage the communities. I'm grateful, as always, to get input from those that are involved in the sector.
Your research and the investigative work that the South African Police Service have done, has that revealed what the motives behind these attacks are? Has it been racially driven? Because sometimes you get the perception that it is about that, or has it been criminally driven, or both?
It's a combination, but I think there is more inclination towards criminality. It is people who are there trying to kill people for the sake of taking what belongs to them. It is attacks that are meant, for example, to lay their hands on firearms, which they will be further utilized in the commission of crime. Important, Lynette, is that when we talk about farm attacks, farm killings, it is not only whites who are victims. It is not only blacks who are victims. It is both. And it is not only farm workers, also farmers themselves are victims in this regard. And that is why it is important that we confront this challenge.
So wat is dit wat ons moet doen op die pad vorentoe? Net hierna bespreek ons gaste die pad vorentoe en hoe ons plaasmoorde en plaasaanvalle gaan bekamp. Moenie weggaan nie. Plaasmoorde bly 'n omstrede kwessie, maar die rolspelers het onlangs met die polisie vergader oor moontlike oplossings. En vanaand wil ons uitvind, wat is dan die pad vorentoe? So wat is die sektore, die pad vir al hierdie belanghebbendes om op te fokus, veral as ons oor die beveiliging van landelike gemeenskappe praat, Kobus?
Ek wil net vandag praat oor wat het ons huidiglik gedoen. Daar is soveel gemeenskapsinisiatiewe wat gedoen word deur die landelike gemeenskappe. In terme van patrolliesry, ek dink byvoorbeeld in die Vrystaat is daar blou-witlig patrollies waarin die gemeenskap saam met die polisie werk. En Agri SA het 'n fonds, die Agri Securitas Trust Fonds, waarin lede van die georganiseerde landbou kan aansoek doen om finansiële bystand vir projekte te finansier, hulpmiddels te finansier, om hulle te help om die misdaad aan te spreek in 'n spesifieke gebiede of omstandighede, soos onder andere veediefstal. Maar wat ek wil sê is die pad vorentoe is verblydend, en dit is ook wat ons met die polisie se topbestuur, hoofbestuur gepraat het, is om reserviste aan te stel binne die raamwerk van die wet, dat ons hierdie operasies wat gedoen word, hierdie patrollies wat gery word, dat ons dit wettig kry. Dit is wettig wat ons dit doen, maar dat ons reserviste daarby het as magsvermenigvuldiger vir die polisie om 'n beter dekkingsgebied te hê en die misdadigers te verdryf en ook sigbaarheid van die polisie daar te stel, want reservis in 'n omgewing in 'n spesifieke sektor gaan geweldig baie help in terme van arrestasiemagte en wat ook al daarmee saamgaan, die admin wat moet gedoen word. En Jan Publiek het wel arrestasiemagte, maar dit maak dit soveel moeiliker om hierdie arrestasie te doen en deur die hele proses, regsproses te vat. En daarom wil ons al vir 'n hele paar jaar het ons versoeke gerig en vertoe dat ons reserviste kan kry om hierdie misdaadkrisisprobleem te kan aanspreek op die regte manier.
General, last year the HRC, after its report was released, made some recommendations, particularly what they wanted the police to focus on, security cluster, in conjunction with some of these stakeholders. What has been implemented thus far? Because I know you mentioned the reservists, you mentioned resources. What about empowering and training and having discussions about security?
I prefer not to talk about the HSRC, but rather want to talk to what our clients are saying. There was a lady, Alta, in Dwalbomo, somewhere in Limpopo, who raised a concern about the number of police people, 18 of them at that station, only 10 of them being around while 8 are off sick, and no vehicles and so on. So we'll respond accordingly and make sure that that area is capacitated. I'm avoiding to talk about that report of the Human Rights Commission because there is no time to focus on academic things. We must focus on practical things. We must make a difference in the policing of our communities. We want to recruit young people from those communities, young white people, young people in the farming community must volunteer their services in the South African Police Service. They understand that environment better. In my engagement with the role players, that's one thing that we are saying we need to do. Because if someone comes from a township and has got no clue of what is happening in the farms, he or she is not going to stay there longer. But that young man who comes out of that particular community is going to do us proud in saving our people. The reservist issue we have spoken to. We advertise the re-enlistment process. In other words, those who have left the service for greener pastures, we are inviting them back because we need their services. They have got the experience. One of the areas that is problematic is stock theft. You can't do that if you don't have passion. So we believe that working together we will do more and make our country proud.
Ek moet sê dis die eerste keer na al die jare wat ons praat oor plaasmoorde wat ek tog die gevoel kry julle is almal op dieselfde bladsy dat daar 'n gefokusde benadering is dat julle nie so krities is die hele tyd op die polisie en hulle leemtes en 'n versuiming van pligte nie. Erns, is dit die regte briesie geleide wat ek hoor?
Ja, kom ek antwoord jou met 'n Toesius vergelyking. Toesius het gesê ons moet bid want ons weet alles hang van die liewe Here af, maar ons moet ook werk asof alles van onsself afhang. En dis eintlik baie dieselfde hier. Ek dink wat moet gebeur is ons moet 'n dubbele strategie volg. Die polisie moet werk asof die polisie die enigste persoon is wat iets aan die probleem kan doen, maar plaaslike gemeenskappe moet ook werk asof hulle die enigstes is wat iets aan die probleem kan doen. Maar ons moet dit ook daar moet samewerking wees ook in die proses en ons moet mekaar ondersteun en ek dink ons is by daai punt. Die probleem is 'n ernstige krisis en die probleem is so kompleks. Ek dink die grootste risiko wat ons loop is om dit te probeer vereenvoudig en net in een sin op te som of om die oplossing in een sin op te som. Daar's 'n multidimensionele strategie nodig en ek dink ons is op daai punt.
Maar ek wil vir julle baie dankie sê dat julle vanaand ingekom het en bereid was om te gesels oor die pad vorentoe. Dankie Ernst, thank you General. Baie dankie Kobus vir julle bydrae vanaand hier op Fokus. Dis ongelukkig al vir vanaand. Ons hoop jy spandeer jou 67 minute ter herinnering aan Wile Madiba baie wys. Onthou ons is volgende Sondag aand om 6:00 weer terug hier op ons pos op SABC 2. Maar soos altyd nooi ons jou om terug te praat. Stuur gerus jou kommentaar, tweets en voorstelle. Skryf net die woord Fokus gevolg deur 'n kort boodskap en SMS dit na 34444. 'n SMS kos R2. Word ook 'n lid van ons Fokusgroep op Facebook en volg ons ook op Twitter by Fokus ZA. Van al ons gaste hier in Johannesburg, die res van die Fokusspan, tot volgende Sondag aand 6:00 op SABC 2. Baie goeie week. Totsiens.
who are going to be corrupt and steal.
The ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe took the campaign to the Western Cape, where he introduced the ANC candidates to various communities. A number of leaders there promised their support.
Very upbeat. People of the Western Cape are responding very positively. Actually, all the time when we lost, we would feel it ourselves as we go around. We are milking a bull. Now it is quite clear. It is clear now that people are responding.
In Mafike Northwest, ANC's national chairperson called on churches to pray for divine intervention.
We should ask our people to pray for politics in general, for the elections, to pray also for the leadership of the country, and make sure that we have a free and fair elections.
In KwaZulu-Natal, the ANC promised to deliver housing, but discouraged people from building houses on council land.
My department that I'm leading within the city has been demolishing the shacks and doing everything, but today they've agreed that they're not going to be building. We are going to be working together to make sure that we move the development of our communities forward.
The deputy president of the ANC Women's League asked the Bantu Church of Christ to support the party.
Must first become a member of ANC and a member of ANC Women's League. All of them, they are from the branches. It is just that the priest felt, we must bring them together in the church because they belong in this church. And the other thing is just to show the whole world that ANC is alive and kicking here in Nelson Mandela.
With the local government elections only some 3 weeks, the ANC is expected to step up its campaign.
The DA leader took his campaign to Laudium in Gauteng, where he expressed a need for a narcotics center to combat drug abuse.
We must institute within the Tshwane Metro Police and narcotics unit that must come here because we know who the drug dealers are. But the other thing that we must do is we must deliver better services.
Residents say the drug problem is exacerbated by unemployment. The party also warned against the use of religion to divide people. EFF leader Julius Malema says his party will prioritize issues that are problematic to young people. He says the EFF will ensure that the indigents will benefit the most in municipalities under its control.
Why is the ANC not implementing free education? Because it is not us who said we are going to give free education. It was them. Now they are turning against their own policy. Because when you are closed out of school, the only option you have is to go to alcohol and drug abuse.
The UDM leader took his campaign to the Western Cape.
The unemployment, the issue of housing, and the issue of crime, those are the most important areas. Also, the people are calling for...
All right, that's it for now. We'll be back again at the top of the hour with more news. To stay with us. Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi. This week we look into the dark web and how easily government entities can get hacked. We have information on the AG Mobile Nelson Mandela Education Initiative. We'll tell you about the new craze that is Pokemon Go. Clinical psychologist Joy Nguna-Tabit joins us for a discussion on gaming addiction. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. A hacktivist group by the name of OP Africa breached into South Africa's arms suppliers Armsco website and left the information in the deep web for all that can access it to see.
News of the Armaments Corporation of South Africa, otherwise known as Armscor's website breach, made headlines in the tech space earlier in the week. The Arms Procurement Agency of the South African Department of Defense website was hacked into by hacktivists claiming to be linked to the anonymous group.
The hack on Armscor happened through what Anonymous Africa calls their Operation Africa, where they go after websites, companies that's associated what they call corrupt governments. So they decided to go after Armscor simply because they can, and they saw a vulnerability in the website. What they did was a fairly simple SQL injection, which means they go to the website and then they try to insert text into the top URL and then gain access through that.
We at Network reached out to Armscor to find out more about the repercussions this hack had on the corporation's cybersecurity system, but they never got back to us. However, a statement released by Armscor spokeswoman Lulu Mzili said that the information accessed by the hacktivist group did not contain sensitive and classified content.
They accessed the invoice and settlement part of the website, which pretty much just houses all the invoices that Armscor sent out to companies like Boeing and the plane manufacturers and arms manufacturers. And it was pretty much just that. It was the section of the website where they pay their bills and where they settled their accounts.
The hackers proceeded to leak the stolen data into the deep web. Most of us first heard of the deep web during the Silk Road website investigation in 2013. This was an underground online drug market that has since been shut down by the FBI.
The deep web consists of 3 layers, 4 layers, depending on who you ask. But the deep web, let's start at the top. Think of it as an iceberg. The surface web, everything that you see is what you can access through Google. So that's the information that is available to everybody. That's the surface web. Then underneath that is a layer of internet websites that are not indexed by Google. So that means you can search for it on Google, but you're not going to find that result. That happens for various reasons. Either websites decide not to be searchable through Google, or they just don't want to be in the public domain. The thing about the deep web is that it's not all bad. There's a lot of people that are saying, oh, you know, there's criminals on there. But the thing that people don't realize, the deep web, any website that's behind a paywall is hosted in the deep web. Any website where you need to log in is in the deep web. Say, Facebook is maybe a bad example, but because you need to log into Facebook, a part of that is in the deep web because you can't search to gain access to your profile. It's not going to be. So it's not all bad. So that is the deep web. It's websites that are not indexed by Google. Underneath that, that's where the bad things start, because that's when you get the dark web. And it's called the dark web for a reason, because you need special software. The dark web is, for the lack of a better term, the darker part of the deep web. That is where you need special software like the Tor browser, and there's a number of them as well, to access those websites. Because not only are they not indexed by Google, they are incredibly difficult to access in the deep web itself. That's why you need special browsers. It kind of looks like Google's Chrome browser. But the most significant thing about that is it uses a different address as well. It uses a bunch of numbers and letters, and it usually ends in a .onion.
Anonymous Africa hacktivists have breached other government websites, such as the Department of Water and Sanitation breach that took place earlier this year. Hopefully, the Armscor hack serves as a wake-up call to all government entities to tighten their cybersecurity.
All right. Earlier in the week, we went to the AG Mobile initiative launch that took place with the Nelson Mandela in Soweto.
AG Mobile is calling this range Long Walk to Freedom. They say the main aim is to give access of new information to users.
Never seen a content, a day in the life of Madiba, if you want to call it that.
The launch of these devices coincided with the announcement of the Freedom to Learn campaign. AG Mobile has partnered with the Nelson Mandela Library Project for this, and they are asking corporates to donate devices they can give away to school children.
Besides donating devices, AG Mobile is giving a percentage of every device that gets donated. We're giving a percentage of funds back to the foundation. And that percentage of funds will then continue to build libraries throughout South Africa.
The Nelson Mandela family says it started the project because it saw a need to give better access to information to Africa's children.
They really rallied behind the family in terms of our aims and objectives in building libraries across the country. So we felt that the next step to do that and to build more is to go the technology way. So hence the partnership with AG Mobile.
The cheapest of the devices is a feature phone that costs about 200 Rand, and they go all the way up to about 2,000 Rand.
In a new music video, director Jaron Clegg creates a world where rockets can launch near the informal settlement of Diepsloot. The dream world comes to life because of 3D animation. Studying animation in Canada, music video director Jaron Clegg says he saw no other place to plough his skills and tell positive stories other than his native South Africa. He's just completed his first music video for his father, Johnny Clegg's Take My Heart Away. Using technology and 3D animation, Jaron created an imagined world and a positive story that juxtaposes a life of poverty in an informal settlement with science. Here, a rocket takes off from the informal settlement of Diepsloot.
The only way I was able to do that was basically from being able, having learned 3D animation and all of the different software packages of the past 8 years. I started when I was 13. I started learning kind of CGI modeling and rigging and animation when I was about 13. So it's been, without having that past experience, I wouldn't have been able to kind of do this project.
Because of the short time he had, he says the process of fusing the real world with his 3D animation wasn't an easy one. Jaron used a mix of software when he was making the music video.
For compositing, I used Nuke, and for the matte paintings that I made basically made the Space Center, the matte painting of the Space Center. I used Photoshop, Keyshot, and basically also Maya.
Clegg now wants to use his animation skills in films that tell fantasy stories with positive South African characters. Zimbabwean activists say that the government is threatened by social media and Uber has suspended its operations in Hungary. These are some of the stories that made tech headlines in the last week.
Zimbabwean activists are worried that the government is beginning to intimidate social media activists. This is after the arrest of Pastor Evan Mawarire, who was charged with attempting to overthrow the state after his social media calls for people to protest.
The citizens seem to have found a voice through social media, and because the preoccupation of the regime of the day is the retention of power, they do see social media as a threat to power. Therefore, the issuance of a serious threat by the regulatory authority, Potras, to companies and also extending it to individuals is meant to clamp down on social media activity.
The country's telecommunications has also warned people who it believes are misusing social media. Now off we go to Cameroon. Cameroonian entrepreneur Matteo Ongwene has introduced a new way for local tourists to enjoy the site. In Eboloa, a town in southern Cameroon, drones are being used to capture new aerial footage of some of the landmarks and attractions.
Mon usage au niveau des drones, c'est principalement de la cartographie.
My use of the drones is mainly to take images of different parts of the city. Of course, also use it to highlight some of the best tourist sites, because seen from above, some of the sites have an even bigger impact on people.
But the ease and availability of drones has some experts concerned, as Cameroon, like many other countries, has yet to introduce comprehensive laws to monitor the use of commercial drones. Now heading over to Central Europe. Ride-hailing service Uber suspends operations in Hungary following the introduction of government legislation aimed at curbing the use of the service.
We will be suspending UberX in Budapest, effective on July 24th. We're certainly saddened to be making this announcement and have labored over this decision over the last several weeks and months. But unfortunately, the logic of legislative developments that have unfolded in Hungary over the last 18 months has led us to this difficult decision.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Joy Nguna-Tabit is in studio to discuss gaming addiction. That's after the break.
Did you go to heaven?
Kelvin is the one who created all this.
What are you fighting over? Us?
If there is 10 million in my account, it will be in the front page the next day.
Do you have 10 million?
Oh, Jesus, hold my hand. Hallelujah.
It's happening right here on Question Time today.
Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
In Bupilong, we celebrate those who take strides doing good and changing the world.
I really think that education has to be revisited, and it's an integral part of teaching young people skills of the future.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel.
I think that the treatment should be made available, actually, because it's costly. Growth hormones are very costly.
Where there is a challenge, we bring hope.
I'm alive. And the brain tumor is gone.
Join your host Puleng Mulabati every Friday at 17:30 for more uplifting stories.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Now, in the 1990s, there was a popular Japanese anime TV series called Pokemon. There was also a game that was popular with kids. Now, Pokemon has been revamped by Nintendo and relaunched as an augmented reality game that has people all over the world hooked. South Africans have been experiencing problems with downloading it, but some are finding ways around that. Pokemon Go has raised Nintendo sales. The Japanese mobile game has also surged to the top of Apple's app charts. It sends gamers out to the streets of major cities around the world, including South African cities. Gamers then look for virtual Pokemon characters to capture.
I think it's a great idea because you get to go out and meet new people and interact. Like right now, I met a couple guys playing Pokemon, so we kind of just talked and stuff like that. So I think it's great.
Analytics firm SimilarWeb says the new game now is on more Android phones than dating app Tinder. Its rate of daily active users is neck and neck with social network Twitter. Even Pokemon gift and accessory stores are doing well.
When Pokemon Go released a couple days ago, all our hats are selling out Pokemon, all our plushies are selling out. Everyone wants to just accessorize for the game, I guess.
Nintendo shares surged nearly 25% for their biggest daily gains in history after Pokemon Go's takeoff. Right, now people are already reporting that they are spending too much time on Pokemon Go. But when does one know that they're getting addicted to playing mobile and video games? Joining me in studio is clinical psychologist Joy Nguna-Tabit. Hello and thank you for being a part of our network.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zondi.
Let's start with gaming. Is it wrong?
It's not wrong. It's a way of passing time. It's a way of socializing, and it's a way of enjoying yourself. But there is a thin line between enjoying and becoming addicted. With time, you realize that instead of you passing time, you find yourself spending more time with the game or with the computer, with the PlayStations that are in your access.
How do we know that we are probably getting addicted?
Generally, you find a lot of people spend a lot of time either on the phone, on the computer, on the internet, and you lose track of what is happening around you. You lose track of your family events, you lose track of your friends and everything that's happening. Usually you find that the individuals would get lost in that world. So you find as much as we try and engage with that person, they tend to get lost in that. And they identify more with the game and the character that's in the game. So they learn to express themselves more in the game than socially. They would generally lose track of eating times, lose track of bathing, and those everyday activities that we find essential no longer become important to such individuals.
Now, is there a difference between being addicted to video games from other addictions?
There's not much of a difference. Generally, the definition of addiction is that it tends to interfere with your general life. So you're unable to go to work, you're unable to engage with other individuals, and you're unable to function with normal things. But then when we look at the gaming activity, you tend to isolate yourself more as compared to the drug addictions, where I would be doing it socially with other people. So I'd be engaging with other people, which means I would not be interfered in that aspect. But with the gaming, it tends to be more isolated, and you end up losing your identity within the game. So most people would no longer be able to interact socially with other people. And it becomes more chronic as you realize that I'm no longer part of the world out there, and I'm more part of the virtual world.
Would people who are no longer functioning properly in the real world know that they have a problem? Would they generally know?
The difficult part with differentiating the two is that when you are addicted to something, as a psychologist and generally with the psychiatrist as well, the individuals that come presenting with addictions is that they would present with a certain type of personality. So usually they would not be able to differentiate. And it's usually the family members that notice that there's something not right with my brother, or my sister, or my cousin, or my father, for example. But the individual themselves, they are having a blast. There's nothing wrong, and they are comfortable, and they are happy with what they're doing. And it becomes a normal thing for them.
I've been listening to discussions about video games, and some people were saying that there are video games that have limits. Do you think that the video game industry should probably try to assist in this, because some of them have dates and you can only play for a certain amount of time on a specific date, and it knows when you've reached a maximum number of hours?
That is assistive, but unfortunately the difficulty with the gaming industry is that that is part of the game. For you to excel in it and to learn to get the next level. For me to be able to say this is where I stop, it's tough, because I have mastered this level today, I need to master the next one tomorrow. So I'll find myself sitting and actually thinking, what other activity can I do, or what other action or move can I make to make sure that I've mastered this level to go to the next one. And I think that's how they get to sell, because if I achieve this level today, what's the purpose of me doing it tomorrow if I cannot move on to the next one? So it keeps me engaged constantly, and I cannot accomplish the whole thing. Yes, me getting a limit of I can only play for 45 minutes. I mean, I can take a 45-minute break, a 10-minute break, and I'll come back. Who's regulating that?
Yeah. Is it something that's curable?
It is. When we say curable, it's relative. The diagnosis of what we call the internet addiction disorder has not yet fully been classified within the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So, but because of the current technology which is out there, you realize that individuals are presenting more and more with the disorders. Initially, the first thing that needs to happen is a person identifying that I do have a problem. But unfortunately, most of the times it goes hand in hand with other disorders such as depression, anxiety disorders, and it's really difficult to just isolate the one disorder without addressing the other. Curing, there's therapy, and there's also pharmacotherapy. So one would have to take the initiative to see a clinical psychologist as well as a psychiatrist. I'm aware of one clinic in South Africa, the Three Rivers Clinic, and they are quite passionate about addictions, and recently they've also branched out into gaming addiction.
All right, Joy Nkuna Tabit, rather. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Now, this week we caught up with Dare. He is a musician from Nigeria, and he told us what his favorite piece of technology is.
Woke up one Sunday morning, told my daddy I'm leaving home. I'm going off to the city tomorrow, even though I don't know where to go.
Hey, how's it, South Africa? This is Dare from Nigeria. And yeah, what's my favorite piece of technology? It has to be mobile phone. I mean, come on. Email, social media, BlackBerry, WhatsApp, or like WhatsApp, like we call it, Of course, you can surf the internet, SMS, phone calls. The possibilities are endless.